Here's Guy Wayman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio inside the news.
Welcome back to part 3 of Inside the News, and this is what we call our Picking Up the Pieces segment, and so we're going to get right to it. Okay, Ben, we're going to go with you, and the Clinton scandal will not go away because the Clinton scandal is not only a scandal, but it's real, and I believe felonies were committed, and it's like some of the people investigating are afraid to go it. We might have 2 special counsels here. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of what is going on, a lot of what we talked about earlier with the burgeoning Awan family IT scandal that is going to embroil much of the Democratic Party and certainly all of the senior power players in the Democratic Party, opens the door again. Look into what has gone on at the Clinton Foundation over the years, the amount of corruption that has been evidenced and really shown to be true in the work of that you see in Clinton Cash by Mr. Schweitzer. There is a lot of ill that has gone on within the party led by the Clintons. They are very much a corrupt couple, and you see them once again being right in the center of this emerging Awan family scandal. And that is why, as we talked about, Chris Gowan, an old-time Clinton hand, very, very powerful attorney in Washington, D.C., is now leading the defense of this gentleman, Mr. Awan, who obviously cannot afford the services of Chris Gowan. So someone is paying for his bill. An attorney like that can easily run up a bill of $10,000 a day while working on a case like this. And that is not money that Mr. Awan has available. There are so many interesting facts that we didn't talk about when we were talking about earlier, but it opens the whole door of why the Democrats have been so willing to work with a lot of questionable Muslims over the years. You can look to Valerie Jarrett and her background in Iran. You can look to Uma Abedin, the primary aide to Hillary Clinton, a woman whose family is deeply connected in the Muslim Brotherhood, whose father and mother are Sharia advocates who are hardcore Muslims, what we would call Muslim extremists, even in the liberal press. And yet Uma Abedin was right there in the middle of everything going on with Hillary Clinton over the years. And you see this infiltration of the Democratic Party by a lot of questionable people. And you see it again with this Awan scandal. So there is a lot of pieces to investigate. It calls out and begs for a special counsel. And I would like to see the Republicans and the Department of Justice have the same fortitude when it comes to investigating Democrats that they show so willingly when it comes to investigating Republicans.
Okay, Frank, if you want to comment on that, fine. But you mentioned that you wanted to talk about Barack Obama and his open policies that has led to the advance of MS-13.
Well, that's right. During the Obama administration, it was an open secret that the president had no intention of protecting the southern border at all. Indeed, even our own Border Patrol agents their union wound up suing the federal government because not even medical checks were being done on those coming into the country. As a result, we've had an influx in the United States, particularly during the unaccompanied minor incident, when numerous young children, supposedly young children, it turns out they weren't so young after all, were let into the United States without any kind of restraints whatsoever. These weren't cuddly 10, 12, 13-year-old children. These were male teenagers, 15 to 18 years old, prime recruits for MS-13. As a result, across the United States, MS-13 has become possibly the most powerful criminal organization in American history. They are far more brutal than any of their predecessors. You know, we can talk about the mafia, we can talk about even Mexican gangs. The fact of the matter is MS-13 is far more brutal than anything that's gone before. Their primary source of growth, their primary source of power was the ability of unaccompanied minors to come into the United States thanks to the refusal of the Obama administration to patrol the southern border. The havoc they are placing across the nation is astounding. In my home state of New York, on the Long Island portion of the state of New York, MS-13 has become an absolute nightmare, engaging in all sorts of horrendous activities, not even just activities related to drugs, but just in terms of their treatment of the general public in murder, rape, and mayhem. This is an absolute scandal from the Obama administration. It is very telling that the media simply doesn't want to put two and two together and point the finger of blame at the Obama administration. Trump has attempted to put together task forces to deal with this, something that we should give full support to. But again, a criminal investigation should be launched into the failure of the Obama administration to engage in the most basic duties of the federal government, protecting our border. It is negligence of the highest order.
All right, before we go back to Ben, with MS-13 and all, we have to give credit to Jeff Sessions because he has really made this a part of his campaign being Attorney General, Frank.
Well, he certainly has. And again, imagine going back to the turn of the century, if things could have been done to prevent the mafia from ever becoming a criminal organization of power in the United States. That's exactly what's happening with MS-13, except MS-13 is far worse than the mafia ever was. And a lot of credit goes to Jeff Sessions for doing just that. But again, we have to look at the acts of criminal negligence, and I use the words advisedly, by the Obama administration in refusing to patrol the southern border.
All right, Ben, your comments about Jeff Sessions, and he's got some really good, strong points, even though he and Trump are not quite on the same page.
Well, I think they are more so than people like to think. I do believe that Trump is just frustrated when it comes to a lot of what's going on, and he takes that out on Jeff Sessions. But the fact is that I applaud Jeff Sessions for refocusing the Department of Justice on a lot of critical issues. This is one issue, the MS-13, where the left-wing media trips on itself. The fact of the matter is that the people who are truly victimized day in and day out by gangs like MS-13 are immigrant communities. These gangs get a foothold in these communities. They prey on people who are recent immigrants, some of whom are illegal, some who are legal, but they use that power and fear that they generate to extort money, to push drugs. They are prone to violence at the drop of a hat. And so it is refreshing to find an administration that is willing to actually admit reality as it exists and to target the perpetrators of evil in this country. And I applaud Jeff Sessions and the administration for that.
All right, this brings number 3 to a close. We've got our final segment. We're going to squeeze Venezuela in as well as our hot-button topics. USAGovPolicy.com is where you can find Frank Vernuccio. You can find Ben Brunson at benbrunson.com and Amazon.com. We'll be back.
You're listening to Wayman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.